Hi, I'm Sam, your resident fantasy reader.
And I'm Morgan, your romance reader, and we welcome you to Just One More Page,
where it's never just one more page. Today, we are excited to introduce our guest for this episode, a New York Times bestselling author of fantasy novels for young adults,
including The Witch Haven and The Rose Bargain, which we reviewed on episode 159. Also, her most recent release, The Thorn Queen.
We welcome to the podcast, Sasha Peyton Smith.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming on. We're so excited to talk to you today. We have so many questions to ask.
Ooh, okay, I'm excited.
So can you give our listeners a quick summary about the Rose Bargain series?
Sure. So The Rose Bargain is a YA romantasy duology. My newest release, The Thorn Queen, will wrap up the series. The Rose Bargain takes place in an alternate history, 1800s, like Victorian, kind of Bridgerton-esque England. But the queen is a fairy who tricked her way onto the throne during the English Civil War and has been ruling as a despot for 400 years. All of the upper crust, high society debutantes must make bargains with her. But the bargains are to find husbands. So it's things like, shinier hair in exchange for a tooth, or a talent for piano in exchange for your happiest childhood memory. She shocks the ton when she announces that this is the season her son, the fairy prince, will take a wife. In order to be considered, you must enter a competition for his hand. Our main character, Ivy Benton, has been recently disgraced by her sister's scandal. So she enters the competition thinking that this is her only option to get back into society. But she is quickly approached by the prince's human stepbrother, Emmett, who has a bargain of his own. He will help her take down the queen, or he will help make her his brother's dream girl if she helps him take down the queen. And so that is the Rose Bargain. So it's been pitched as like Bridgerton meets The Selection, meets The Cruel Prince. And then The Thorn Queen, which is out in the US on April 14th, is the continuation of that story. So it's hard to talk about The Thorn Queen without like wildly spoiling The Rose Bargain. I don't know how spoilery this episode is going to be, but I've just been saying, they have to deal with the consequences of their choices.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we absolutely loved The Rose Bargain when we read it for the podcast. And I always like to ask this question because I like writing too. Mm-hmm. Did you always want to be a writer growing up, or was this something that just kind of happened?
No, I didn't always want to be a writer, which all of my friends who were professional writers knew from like the moment they could hold a pen that it was like the only thing they wanted to do. That wasn't the case for me. I was always a really big reader. But I spent, my childhood thinking I wanted to be a lot of different things. I wanted to be a lawyer, and then a teacher, and then a fashion designer, and then a doctor. And I went all through high school thinking that I'd be a doctor. And I majored in biology in undergrad. Decided fairly quickly into that degree that I did not want to be a doctor, but I still really liked science, and I explored a lot of different career paths. And I ended up getting my master's degree in public health. And so I was working in pediatric healthcare, for most of my 20s. But I wrote The Witch Haven, my debut novel, in grad school, kind of as a project for me to try to prove to myself that I could do it. I was always a big reader. I was a big bookworm as a kid. I never identified as a writer. I think it felt like something I wasn't allowed to want. I fancied myself kind of a practical person, and it didn't seem like a very practical dream. But then I was going home from college and writing like tens of thousands of words of secret fan fiction. I thought that like everybody was doing that. I was like, it's that thing we all do. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was like in graduate school alone in this new city, and I didn't have any friends yet, and the idea for what became The Witch Haven came to me. And I thought, how hard could it be? Like, I've read thousands and thousands of books. How hard could it be? The answer is incredibly hard. But I am stubborn. By the time I started, I wanted to prove to myself that I could finish. And I ended up, through a great stroke of luck, getting into an incredible mentorship program, signing with my incredible agent, getting this book deal. And my life ended up being so much like bigger and better than I ever let myself hope for.
That is so awesome.
I have to ask, what kind of fan fiction were you writing?
I said I will take it to my grave. No one knows. It has been scrubbed from the internet. You cannot find it. It's not because I'm ashamed of having written fan fiction. It's because my fanfic was bad, and I don't want people to find it.
Don't worry. Been there, done that. I know. I think like my first ever fan fiction was like Harry Potter. So I get it.
It was never published, but I was writing like Twilight fanfic before I even knew what Twilight, like before I knew what fanfic was. I was like, well, I have a lot to say about Rosalie. I got to get this down on a Word doc.
We grew up in the world of Quizilla and the early days.
It was like fanfic.net when I first started reading. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now AO3.
No, we were not blessed with the algorithm of AO3 yet.
No. So what was like some of your inspiration to, because you did the Witch Haven series, what inspired you to write the Rose Bargain?
So, yeah, The Witch Haven was my debut duology. It's about a school for witches in 1911 New York. It's still a YA fantasy, kind of more of a murder mystery. It has a slightly darker tone than The Rose Bargain, but still a lot of similar themes of like, female friendship and girls with magic and powers and anger and tricky boys.
Yeah.
And the book series did well. It was a New York Times bestseller, and I earned on my advance. And I thought, like, I was an A-plus student. I did everything that I was
Yeah.
supposed to do. And then I went to go sell my next book to my publisher, and they didn't want it. And I was dropped by my
Oh.
publisher, which is pretty
Oh.
common.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not personal. And I know that now, that like
Yeah.
that's just showbiz, baby. But it felt really, really devastating at the time. I
Mhm.
was kind of shattered by it, because before that I'd had kind of a fairy tale experience. Like, I signed with my agent really
Yeah.
quickly. I'd sold the book really quickly. It got all these like fun special editions. Like, I hadn't really faced a big failure yet. So it really knocked me off my axis. And I was home for the holidays, kind of nursing my wounds, having a pity party. And I was thinking, I might never write professionally again. Like, this might be it for me. I'll just
Yeah.
like work at the hospital for the rest of my life. And I was in my childhood bedroom that still has all of my shelves, all of the books I loved when I was a teenager, like, Delirium and Great and Terrible Beauty and the Hunger Games and the Twilight series and like all of these like great early 2000s YA
Yeah.
novels. And I decided if nobody was ever going to read what I wrote again, that I might as well write something that was an attempt to make me feel the way those books made me feel. Like, could writing make me that
Yeah.
happy?
Right.
And the idea, what if the Queen of England was a fairy, kind of struck me like lightning, which is a very silly idea.
Yeah.
But I decided to give in to that, and I wanted to write the most self-indulgent book possible to see if they could still like bring me joy.
Yeah.
And so I threw every single thing I loved into the Rose Bargain. I threw in, all of my favorite tropes. We have just one bed. We have a brother love triangle. We have longing from across a crowded ballroom. We have a massive cast of girls. We have ball gown descriptions. I did not deny myself anything. We have a dog. Like, any single thing that I could put in that seemed fun, I put into this book, and that is how the Rose Bargain was born.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Also, I think like writing is so important to write for yourself rather than
Yeah.
other people. So I 100% love the fact that you're like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do and write what I want to read. Well,
It is such a cliche of like
yeah.
be your own first audience, but it's true. And I think
Yeah.
that readers can tell when you're having fun.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, with you writing the Rose Bargain, what was the process of it? Did you have like everything planned out, or were you just kind of like focused at like, I'm going to focus on this book and then figure out the rest of later?
So I am a plotter. I kind of have to have a planner. I will never
Yeah.
finish anything. I am a procrastinator. And so if I don't know what I'm doing that day, I will never write anything. Like, I really have to know the story before I start. So I had a full synopsis. And as I was writing this synopsis, I got, kind of to the halfway point,
Yeah.
because I've been hoping to write a standalone.
Yeah.
But I wrote the synopsis and I was like, oh no, it's a duology. And oh no, I know exactly
Yeah.
where the first one ends. So for those of you who have read that cliffhanger in book one, I'm very sorry.
I was dead. I was in my car dead. I was like,
It felt like a very clear, like, before and after. Like, this is book
Yes.
one and this is book
Yes.
two. So I knew pretty clearly where the Rose Bargain was going. And then the Thorn Queen was less plotted, but I knew basically the bones of the story.
Yeah.
At the time I was writing the Rose Bargain, I knew where we were going and where Ivy was going and where Emmett was going.
Mhm.
And then I really got to flesh out the world in the Thorn Queen. It was a lot of world building. But yes, I do usually have a plan. I'm always like really impressed and shocked when I talk to writers who, like, it's the plotter versus the painter who
Yeah.
paints their way through books, because I don't have the self-discipline.
Yeah.
Like, I have to know what I'm doing.
Yeah, 100%.
So what was researching for the Rose Bargain like? Because we're sitting in kind of like historical England, but with like a twist. Obviously, there's fairies, but there's also some like real life historical facts, like calling Bram the Prince of Wales. So what was it like trying to like mix fairy tale and history together?
Yeah, the world building in the Rose Bargain was really fun. My first series takes place in what is supposed to be real 1911 New York. There's this school for witches, but it is part of the underworld of New York City. It is ostensibly real New York and real history. And so I was really hard on myself in that book that everything had to be based in reality. They're going to suffragette meetings, and it is real suffragette meetings that happened that night in 1911,
Yeah.
and they're at the subway stop that was built in 1908. Like, I was very, very rigid in my historical research for my debut series. This series was fun because I got to be a little bit more hand wavy.
Mhm.
So the setup for the Rose Bargain is that it is, real England, and then during the War of the Roses, which is the real English Civil War that eventually kind of put the Tudors on the throne in the
Yeah.
1400s. Um, there is a queen, a fairy queen, who strides out onto the battlefield, and she makes a fairy bargain with one of the kings to make him king. It is, of course, a bad fairy bargain. He is dead the next day, and she is now Queen of England based on the terms of her bargain. And so for 400 years, England has been being ruled by this fairy queen. And I wanted it to feel familiar. I wanted this to feel like the trappings of Victorian England because I'm such a fan of Victorian romance novels. It was a lot of what I was reading before I wrote the Rose Bargain. And so I wanted this kind of like funhouse mirror version of, we know what the season is.
Yeah.
We know what a carriage is. We know what a ballroom is. Like these touch points I wanted, but I got to have some fun, and that, who knows what they're going to be dressing like. There's a very like the Kensington Palace has a tree growing up through the middle of the atrium that felt very fairy tale-y to me. Society and religion and culture is like a little bit warped. But then I also had to do research as to what couldn't change, what existed pre 1471 that I couldn't change. So things like the Prince of Wales title, I didn't realize it was that old. Parliament existed pre 1471. The Magna Carta, certain places in London. So there were kind of concrete things that I knew I couldn't change. And so that was really fun.
So was it really, because I know you talked about the Witch Haven, was it really different from writing about witches and then going to fairies in your next book? Like, was it difficult for you, or was it like just a fun like way to write about a different kind of species?
It was mostly fun. The Witch Haven was intimidating world building wise because it
Yeah.
takes place at a school for witches. And if you're going to write a school, you have to know what they're being taught.
Yeah.
So I really had to know that magic system. I had to create a magic system. I had to create a system of education. I had to create boundaries and rules and how they've kept themselves secret. And like,
Yeah.
I wrote a fairy because I was like, I know what fairy magic is. Everybody knows what fairy magic is. Everybody knows what a fairy bargain is. It was my way of trying to weasel out of writing another magic system. Which of course, like there still is a magic system in this book, but it is based on like the very English and Irish mythology of a fairy bargain. And Queen Mora and her son Bram are the only fairies in this world. The door between London and the other world has been locked for 400 years. And so it was actually much easier on me to write the magic in this book than my debut series.
So that kind of leads us into like our next question is, did you feel any intimidation about writing about the Fae? Because there's a lot of popularity in romantasy books now with the Fae, especially with the explosion of like the romantasy genre in the last few years. Did you feel worried about how your Fae were going to be received in the romantasy world, or was it just like, I'm doing this for the fun, then well, it'll be what it is?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I think in YA, the Fae are a little bit different. I know I was writing a YA romantasy. I also knew that I was going to pull pretty directly from English and Irish fairy mythology. My grandmother was English, and so I grew up with a lot of like fairy stories. And in her stories, the fairies are like very uncanny and kind of creepy. And if you hear music in the woods, no, you don't. If somebody comes with a deal that's too good to be true, you don't make it. They were distinctly inhuman and things to be cautious of. And I love that version of fairies. I love fairies as a kind of malevolent presence. I find immortality completely horrifying. And so I know that I would never write like a classic immortal love interest. Not that I think they're bad, and I love those books, but me personally, like the idea of living forever is my absolute nightmare. And I thought a lot about what immortality would do to Queen Mor living among humans, and how, temporary humans must feel to her, and what that does to your sense of empathy and kindness, and, just how warped she's become over time. I think above all things, she's really bored. And that's a really interesting place to create a villain from. So I didn't think much about it being compared to other fairies, but I also think that's what's so fun about fantasy is you get to read. I enjoy reading like 15 different takes on vampires and 20 different takes on like I really like seeing where people are pulling from mythology that everybody knows is a touchstone, and where people are creating their own mythologies. Witness as a writer.
Also, I really love the fact that you brought up that Queen Mor is bored, because like when reading this book for the first time, like we immediately were like, this queen's a little bored. She's throwing out all these different like bargains. Like she's like, I don't care. You're gonna have to do this for the like.
Yeah.
I love her as a villain. I love her because she's so complex in the way that she's making like the decisions she makes.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's not fully evil. She's like
Yeah.
apathetic, which is almost worse.
Yeah. And not to get like too spoilery, but like you find out like just how not evil she is.
Yes.
As you get
going. I mean, she's not a kind there's not a kind bone in her body.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But she could have been worse.
But there's very few things she does out of pure malevolence.
Yes.
But yeah, I do think her bargains get like weirder and weirder over the centuries.
Yeah.
Like she's straight up just trying to entertain herself.
100%. It's like her own reality TV show.
100%. She is casting her own season of The Bachelor and making all of these girls participate.
100%. Okay, so we're going to go into my favorite section of the podcast, and this is where we play a mini game.
Ooh.
So, since your novel takes place in the 1800s, we thought it would be fun to test your knowledge with a few terms from that time period.
Ooh, okay, let's see how good my research is.
Well, I will say that when me and Sam were looking at words, we were shocked by some of the words and insults, mostly insults that we saw.
Okay.
So I will start us off first. So the first word is chowderhead.
It doesn't sound positive. I would assume that refers to somebody who's like dumb. Like your like friend does something like dumb and you're like, oh man, you chowderhead.
Yeah. 100%. It means a stupid or brain dead person.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good. Maybe I should adopt that.
Okay, so the next one is a phrase. So if someone is tight as a boiled owl.
Boiled owl sounds very unpleasant.
It very unpleasant.
Were they boiling owls in the 1800s?
No. Oh, maybe.
I mean, to me, I would just assume that means like uptight. Like not very fun. Like, oh, we don't want to go out with George. He's tight as a boiled owl.
So if George is tight as a boiled owl, he is very drunk.
Oh, that tight does not like a word I would associate
I
with
was reading that and I'm
drunkenness.
like, that doesn't match, but I was like, that's interesting. And I wonder where it comes from.
I would love to know the etymology.
Me too. Okay, the next one is fusty lugs.
Oh no, she's got some fusty lugs on her.
Yep.
What are the fusty lugs?
Yeah. You don't want to be called this, by the way.
No, I can't imagine so. I'm going to go with smelly.
Ooh. It means a beastly woman.
A beastly woman?
Yes. I wouldn't
These
want to be
poor
called
women.
that. I know.
I know.
So rude.
As we were going through these, we're like, God, we have to find some things that are like less insulty.
I know.
They're so mean to people in the 1800s. Okay. So if you go out to eat and you shoot the crow, what did you do?
Oh, did you skip out on the bill? Is that like dining and dashing?
Yeah,
is that right?
Dash. Yep.
You provided helpful context. I don't know if I've got it without context.
Yeah. Okay. I just like this one. Too high for his nut.
Oh. To me, that would be somebody who's like very like fussy, like he like is like kind of uppity.
Yeah, someone who's behaving above their station.
Yeah. Yep. Too high for his nut.
Yep.
Okay, so if someone is a mutton shunter, who are they?
A mutton shunter?
Mutton shunter.
That one feels dirty.
It does feel dirty.
Is he a hairstylist? Is he a barber? Is he shunting people's muff?
No.
Okay.
They're a police officer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of the less fun term that we use today for police officers, and I'm like, mutton, sheep. We just changed the animal.
Yeah. Okay. Giggle water.
That's got to be alcohol.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Giggle water. We should bring Giggle water back. That
Yeah,
feels
we should.
That feels like it's like a Real Housewife branded alcohol seltzer. It's like Giggle water by
Yeah.
Listen, forget books. Next $1 million idea. Giggle water.
Giggle water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could do good branding with that.
Yeah.
Really.
100%.
Okay, if someone is a hedge creeper.
Ooh, to me that just feels like somebody like very literally creeping around a hedge. That sounds like a stalker.
So it's actually a prostitute.
Oh, well, she's creeping around the hedges.
She just creeping around the
hedges. Scandal water.
A scandal water?
Mm-hmm.
Not alcohol again?
No alcohol.
Wow. A scandal water. I have no guesses.
If you think about it, it's like if someone has someone's bringing drama and you're like, oh, this person has the...
Oh, it's like, is it like the tea? Is
yeah,
it like
yep, the tea.
Oh my,
tea.
I should have known.
Which I was like, oh, that makes sense why we say like, oh,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I prefer scandal water. I like it.
Water.
It just sounds more proper. Like
if you're gonna come to brunch, you better bring the scandal water.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Last one is a backbiter.
Oh, I feel like it's somebody who like talks behind your back, like a backstabber. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. Someone who slanders someone behind their back.
My guess was that, or like a toddler, just like a little kid. Who's like,
that one's true too, because mine bites.
Yep.
100%. Okay.
Oh, good job.
You did such a good job.
Thank you.
Yes. I was a little bit worried. I was like, oh, I wouldn't know half of these, but you did really good.
I think I didn't know half of those, but I still had fun.
We're still going to give them to you. Okay. So in this section of the podcast, we're going to be talking about more in-depth questions about the Rose Bargain. So if you guys have not read the Rose Bargain yet, what are you doing? Definitely go do so. Okay. But we're going to ask some kind of spoilery questions about the Rose Bargain, some questions that we want to know about. Okay. So just be aware that some spoilers may be ahead.
So in the novel, you write about that all the women coming into society must make a bargain, while men can make their bargain whenever they please. Mm-hmm. Was this kind of a comment on societal norms in the 1800s, or kind of where did that come from?
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, talk about touchstones that felt familiar. When I was getting ready to write the Rose Bargain, all I had read for like 2 years, I was kind of coming out of the pandemic, were historical romance novels. I was just reading hundreds and hundreds of historical romance novels, Julia Quinn and Lisa Kleypas and Beverly Jenkins and Tessa Dare and all of those like really fabulous historical romances. And so much of what adds the tension to those romance novels is the lack of choices women have. And we have these smart, capable heroines who are really stripped of the right to determine their own futures. And that marriage is not just a romantic proposition, but a social one. And so when I was going into writing this version of the 1800s, I wanted those stakes to feel familiar. And there's a reason I set it during the Victorian era and had a woman queen is, we have this woman in charge, but we still have all of these trappings of the patriarchy and this woman who is enforcing the patriarchy. And so Ivy is really trapped by her social and financial status. And that lends all the more stakes to this competition with Bram and to her deal with Emmett. And these other girls in the competition, I wanted each of the girls to have really distinct reasons for entering the competition with Bram, and very few of them are there for love.
100%. So one thing about reading this book that really stuck to me, because I have sisters too, is that like Ivy really cares about her sister. Was this something that was intentionally planned, or was it just something as you were writing this character, it just clicked that she was going to be really close and protective of her sister?
No, I knew the Witch Haven revolves around a brother-sister relationship. She's trying to solve her brother's murder. I am number 3 of 4 children. So I have an older brother and then 3 sisters. I'm in the middle, or 2 sisters. I'm in the middle of a group of 3 sisters. And so I knew that I wanted to write a sister book, even before I had the idea for the Rose Bargain, even before I had anything. I knew that I wanted to explore sister relationships in my next work. And there's nothing like a sister relationship. There's very few people in the world I would like absolutely kill for, that I also want to kill sometimes. Like and I think especially in your adolescent years, 100%. Having a sister can be so agonizing because they reflect the parts of you that you find frustrating back to yourself. And that's absolutely true when it comes to Ivy and Lydia's relationship, is they share so many of the same faults. So in learning to forgive Lydia, Ivy has to learn to forgive herself too. So their relationship was always meant to be the heart of this book, and their relationship is definitely the heart of the Thorn Queen. Lydia is on page even more in the Thorn Queen. She gets her own POV chapters, and she also really goes on her own journey beside Ivy. And so I knew that their relationship was going to be the thing that I wanted to explore the most. This deep love that they have for each other that's also tangled in some like pretty deep resentment.
That's cool. I'm excited to see more Lydia. more of no spoilers. Okay, so we know that this book kind of takes place like after like the Rose War, like hundreds of years after the Rose War, or the War of the Roses. But was the symbiotic use of using the rose intentional, as the Queen calls the debutantes like the perfect English rose? And will there be more like flower symbolism in the second novel, or will it just be all thorns?
Yeah, so the War of the Roses, I wish that I had like a very like beautiful like artistic answer for this. But the truth is that always existed in the book, like the War of the Roses. Was always the beginning of this book. And then we were trying to come up with a title for this book. The original title, when I was just working on this manuscript, was Carriages at Midnight, which is what they would put at the bottom of old invitations, is, like, come for dinner at Lady So-and-so's house, dinner at 8, carriages at midnight, basically like get out of my house by midnight.
Yeah.
And I really loved that phrase. And so that's what the manuscript was called. And my agent hated it. She was like, we're not that. It was my agent and I going back and forth on just like words and free association. And so we just like listed a bunch of words that were in the book. We had, rose, thorn, debutante, queen, blah, blah, blah. Like, and my agent really liked the word rose. And so my agent came up with the rose bargain. And I was like, oh, that's fun. That's catchy. And then I added the line about, I was like, oh, I could do something with that.
Okay.
And so then I added the line that they call the bargains that they make with the Queen rose bargains. I think the line is something like, bargains to make us perfect English roses, fragile and stuck. And so it ended up kind of as kismet that I think that line really works in the book. And I think that it really helped to add context to these bargains they were making with the Queen. But that was absolutely like a chicken and the egg situation. But there is more flower symbolism in the Thorn Queen. There's another couple of flowers that pop up.
We cannot wait.
Thank you.
So talking about the Queen and making the deals, was this something that you knew was always going to happen? Or was it just something you're like, I got to add, like, I got to add more, like, make the Queen more complex and making her make these deals? Or where did that come from?
No, that came pretty early. Yeah, my original idea for this book was, what if the Queen of England was a fairy? And so I thought, what would that look like? And pretty much the second idea was each citizen would get a bargain. Every person in England gets to go make a bargain with the Queen. And what would that look like? And then that led me to like, well, the debutantes, if we're doing kind of a classic romance novel, the debutantes would have to have something to find husbands, and we do a marriage competition, and then it became like, what if? But bargains was kind of the second idea.
Ooh.
When it came to planning the rose bargain.
I like that.
Yeah.
Right. So throughout the first novel, we get a lot of like different first person point of views. Was it always like planned to have more than one point of view, or did you start with Ivy and then was like, okay, now I need to like maybe add some extra points to flesh out the story?
The latter. So it was always meant to be Ivy's story. Ivy was always the narrator. But I had a lot I wanted to say about the other debutantes. I wanted to know their reasons for entering this competition. And I had a lot to say about Faith Fairchild in particular. So she is Prince Emmett's ex, and she has also entered the competition. And I knew with Emmett, I wanted Emmett to be a rake. And if you're going to have a rake, he has to have an ex-girlfriend. I don't like it's all happened off page. Like, I wanted there to be real consequences for kind of his womanizing behavior and a trail of girls that he'd left in his wake. And so I had Faith, and I knew her relationship with Emmett, and I knew her history, and I knew the romance that she was eventually going to have in her own right. And I loved her as a character, but she was quite guarded, and she wasn't close to Ivy. And I don't think that there was a world in which she was going to like sit down with Ivy and like monologue about her past. And I was getting really sad because I had all these things I wanted to say about her, and I couldn't figure out how to put it in the book. And I was talking to one of my best friends who's also a writer, and she was like, well, why don't you write a chapter from Faith's perspective? And I was like, can I do that? Am I allowed to do that? And that spurned the idea of each girl getting a chapter before each trial kind of reflects one of the girl's deepest fears. And so we get a POV chapter of each girl explaining why they made the bargain, why they entered the competition, what their fears are, what their history is. And we get this little snapshot of them. So it was also kind of a writing exercise at first. I didn't know if these chapters were going to make the final manuscript. And I really went back and forth with my editors about it. There was a lot of debate as to whether or not they would exist in the final manuscript. And my editor and I most often agree on things. Like, it's not that we don't have a particular usually pretty in alignment. But she did not want those chapters. She really thought they slowed down the pacing, which is a totally valid editor note. But I really loved them and I really fought for them, and she let me keep them. And it's been so lovely to see how many other readers have connected with these girls. And I'm so glad that I kept them in. But it really wasn't until like the final draft a question of whether or not these chapters were going to exist.
Yeah, I really love, like, Faith is one of my favorite characters throughout the book.
She's one of mine. I relate to Faith.
Really? I love her as a character, and I don't think I would have loved her as much if I didn't get her chapter.
I think you need to get her relationship with Emma and to get her relationship with Marion, I think you need it in her own words, because she isn't going to say it to someone else.
Yeah, absolutely not.
We're going to sit down. I would have had to make her a different character. If she were to sit down with Ivy, be like, anyway, you want to hear about me and Emmett? That just wasn't something she was going to do. And then I got to add in the Marion and Faith love story, which was so important.
Yes.
And to see it from their perspective, I think made it more of a love story than just seeing Ivy be like, oh yeah, I guess they're together now.
Yeah. I think it was important.
Thank you.
So the trials that the girls went through, you wrote many different ones that they had to go through to compete. And which ones were your favorite to write about, and which one was your least favorite to write about?
Ooh, yes. The trials are all kind of like etiquette lessons from hell. I loved the hedge maze is the first one, and that came very easily. I mean, a hedge maze trial is like a very classic fantasy trope. But adding, this magical hedge maze that these girls are running through, and they're all kind of faced with their fears. We have Greer, who's made a bargain and she can't turn left, and so she's like just running in circles in this hedge maze. Like the hedge maze was very fun. That one came quite easily. I think it's the last trial where they go to the tea party and all of their loved ones have been dosed with truth serum and they're all just like spilling their secrets. That one was the hardest for me to write. One, because you're juggling such a big cast in a single scene. But I knew there was a lot I had to accomplish. I had to accomplish like the Greer reveal. I had to accomplish like Lydia being there and running into Bram. I had to see Ivy's mom and their relationship. Like there was just a lot happening in that scene. So that one was more intimidating for me to write. But I had fun with the trials. It was a fun writing exercise.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't want to go through them, but I had fun time.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Okay. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but we were just curious because we got you here. Is Greer alive?
Wink, want to fix you.
So my problem is I'll tell anybody anything, and people will come through my signing line and they'll ask me, and I'll be like, do you actually want to know? And most of the time they'll be like, no. I will tell you that it is answered in Thorn Queen.
Okay. As long as we get like
you get an
answer. I just want an answer because
you get an answer.
Okay.
That's good for me. And now I'm gonna go load it up my Kindle after this.
Okay. So making deals with the Queen comes with a steep price, losing memory, senses, and abilities. Would you make a bargain with the Queen? And if so, what would it be?
Absolutely not. The Queen terrifies me. I would stay so far away from her. I was asked this a lot on tour. So kind of my locked and loaded answer was, I do think I currently have a low-level curse on me that my bag always comes out last at airport security. So I would make a bargain for my bag to always come out first. And I would give up something very small. I think that's a very small bargain. I would give a pinky toe nail. Not the toe, but the nail.
Just
the nail. What about you guys? Would you make a bargain?
Oh, if I had a choice, I would say no. But if I was being forced to, I would probably make a bargain to never be late because I'm constantly running late to everything. Yeah. And I wouldn't know what I would want to give up. Maybe my fingernails because I'm also a baker. So I like that would make sense for me. But yeah, to never be late again because my boss would love me for that. But
yes. Olive and her lack of fingernails. I actually didn't think that was that bad of a bargain.
I don't think so either.
Olive makes a bargain, and then she takes all of her fingernails. And Olive in her own POV chapter is like, it's really not that bad. I'm constantly baking, and like now dough isn't stuck behind my fingernails. People hate that bargain. People have a visceral reaction to that bargain. They're like, all of it are fingernails. I'm like, I don't think it's that
bad. That one was not like one of the worst ones to have. Like,
people hate that one.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would have hated going left all the time.
Greer's is worse. Well, I have an uncle who, like, he had a firework accident when he was a kid. He was holding a firework, so he didn't have fingernails. And so I don't know. I guess maybe to me it was like kind of normal. I'm like, I don't know. There's adults with fingernails.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. What about you, Sam?
Oh my God, I don't know. Probably to never be tired. I'm a toddler mom. I think just to never feel tired ever again would be fantastic.
That's good. But she's going to take something big for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what she would take. What would she take? She can have my whole book collection. I'll just restart it.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I loved it. So can you tell our listeners about the next book in the Rose Bargain series and what the readers can expect from you?
Sure, I'll tell you about the Thorn Queen. There are, I guess, to set up this book, there are spoilers for the Rose Bargain. So again, like if you want to go completely unspoiled, I guess if you've listened to this far, a little bit spoiled. But we pick up right where we have left off in the Rose Bargain after Ivy's disastrous wedding. It is now 4 months later. It is October. She is living in Bath with her husband Bram, the Fairy King, and his new cruel fairy court who have flooded into England. And she's desperate to find her way back to Lydia and Emmett, who she suspects are being held in the fairy world. So she's making a lot of like little political moves and machinations, and she's searching for Queen Moore, who is still missing. All of the girls from the competition are now her ladies in waiting, so they're also in Bath with her, and they've formed this little like rebellion group, and they're doing all this subterfuge. And Ivy eventually gets to leave England, but the further and further she ventures, I think the question becomes who is really in need of rescuing and who is in danger from whom.
Ooh.
Love it. I'm so excited. After that cliffhanger, I was dead, and I literally like Snapchatted Morgan, and I'm like, "What do we do?"
I feel so bad. But the Thorn Queen wraps up the story.
I'm so excited. Don't feel bad. That's like the mark of a good writer is when readers are like, "Next one, please."
Yes.
Now. I've been honored that people have been waiting for it.
Yes, we're so excited.
So where can our listeners find you? Do you want to plug some socials?
Yeah, you can find me I'm mostly on Instagram, which is Sasha Peyton Smith. I'm on TikTok occasionally at Sasha P. Smith. My website is sashapsmith.com. And that's it.
That's awesome.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We love talking about the Rose Bargain and getting all our answers or all our questions answered, especially talking about some scandal water and stuff like
scandal
that.
Water. I hope I scandal water.
Yes. We got all the scandal over here. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Neither of you are chowderheads.
Oh, yay! We appreciate it. Thank you.